Hey adventurers, today is going to be a book review for The Big Time by Fritz Leiber, or Leiber. I don't know exactly how it's pronounced because I'm an American and I don't look into that type of stuff. If you want to know how it's pronounced, go watch some of Liam's Lyceum's videos because he probably pronounces it correctly. And he likes this author. So, The Big Time is a sci-fi. It's a time travel, self-contained, it's a short story, but it also is rather mind-bending. And I'll get more into why I have all these tags associated with this book, I guess you could call them. But it's also a short book. It's about a 6-ish hour audiobook or 8-hour audio. I think it's about a 6-hour audiobook, but because I listen usually on double speed if possible, if not then like 1.75 or whatever, that 6 hours that would have normally been there I was cut down to about 3, so I listened to this entire story in a very short amount of time. But it is a short story and I'll get into my thoughts here in a second, but before I continue with the review, I would like to say if you like what you're seeing from an Erudite adventurer, we would appreciate it if you would like and comment and subscribe if you haven't already, and now we will get into this review. So The Big Time is a story set in a single location outside of time and space. It's basically a bar that people come and hang out and chat, and it's an interesting concept, and I do understand the concept. I've done some very light role-playing type stuff in this same similar type of setting before. Let's see. So it's set out it's a single location outside of time and space where people from all different times and places come together and interact. There's outside of this location there is a time war that's going on between two different factions, like a snakes faction and a spiders faction or something like that. And I don't remember all the details because it's been since November since I read this now. So I don't remember all the details. I kind of tried to read up a little bit on it before we're writing this review, but still there's a lot of setup and background that I don't fully remember and or understand. But this is an immersive world and story. You fly through this short novella and are left almost with more confusion than answers, but that doesn't take away from the enjoyment. I find that I really like sci-fi that leaves you with questions, that leaves you more confused than satisfied, and for me it's satisfying to be confused in that way. That's kind of an odd thing to say and almost doesn't make sense, but for some reason that's the way that my brain works, and that's the type of sci-fi that I tend to enjoy. This small group of characters mostly just stand around and talk, so it's heavily philosophical, and because of that it should not be as interesting as it is, but I found it extremely interesting and extremely engaging. I very much wanted to continue with the series, I wanted there to be more to the series than just this one short book. I don't really have a ton to say about this book because while I understood many of the scientific concepts being played with, and I followed the storyline well enough at the time I was reading it, it was wacky enough that I don't know if I'm smart enough to truly give a good explanation of my thoughts or even of the storyline of the book. I do know that I came out of it happy with the experience and enjoying the book, and really that's all that I tend to ask for. But I also have found that, this is just an aside, I didn't actually write it in this review, I find that I tend to enjoy books and stories for what they are, not for what they could be. And so because of that I rarely DNF a book to start with, but I rarely don't enjoy a book unless it's just like erotica and I don't want to read that type of thing where it's just something that there's so much of something that I don't care about that I don't want to read. If that's the case, then I will put the book down and never come back to it again. But generally I find that I enjoy the stories for what they are, and that means you get to the end of the book and you look back and say, huh, that was interesting, now I like that, or I didn't like it, or let's continue on reading. I'll for sure read more of Leiber at some point, though I don't know when. Again, I don't have more of his books at the moment. I know he's got lots of other books that he's written, a lot of other science fiction. I think he has some fantasy, but I believe he was primarily a science fiction writer. I don't think most modern readers would enjoy this book as much as I did and as much as Liam did, but it's a short enough story and it's free on Audible and the narration was really good that I'd encourage people to try it and see for themselves whether they like it or not, and I'd be very interested to hear more people's thoughts on it. Again, I feel like I don't have a lot of things to actually say about this book, because I don't feel like I understood it well enough, and I don't feel like I remember it well enough to give a great review of it. It's kind of just, I remember liking it, and I remember being confused by it, and that was good enough for me type story. I would be interested to hear a bunch of other people's thoughts on it, or even not a bunch, just a couple other people's thoughts, just to see kind of how people are feeling about it and how they're thinking about it. Anyways, that was my review for The Big Time by Fritz Leiber, or Fritz Leiber if you want to pronounce it that way. I really don't care how it's pronounced, as long as you know who we're talking about, and I think that you do. So that is my review. Thank you guys for watching an Erudite Adventure. We post videos every Monday and Thursday, and we have our social medias linked in the description down below. I will make sure to link Liam as well, just so you guys can go check out his channel. It's full of great stuff. And yeah, he's actually the one who got me to read this book. He mentioned that it was free on Audible, and I was like, oh, well, I might as well pick it up then. So I did that, and then he read it at one point, and then I ended up having no audiobooks, but time to listen to an audiobook. And so I was like, oh, well, we'll do this one. And so I listened to that one, and it was very interesting, very incredible for me to read. And like I mentioned, I don't know my full thoughts. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. We will see you guys again soon. Stay warm.